Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. My name is Beth, and today we are going to talk about some of my favorite bullet journaling supplies. I haven't done a video like this yet because I feel like you kind of need to have been bullet journaling for a while before you nail down what your favorite supplies are. I've been at it for about 2.5 years now, so we're going to go ahead and take a look. And of course, the first thing I have in front of me is a journal. Now, you only need paper and pen to bullet journal. You don't need any of the creative supplies. I know we all talk about it, but it's very much true. But I have landed on Archer & Olive as my favorite journal company. That should come as no surprise. And I just love their journal. So this is my current journal that I'm using now. It is the Sun B5 journal. I think in this size it's no longer available, but you can still get it in an A5. And this is my favorite design of Archer & Olive's thus far. And then to pair with this journal, I have started using tabs, and I ordered these sets of tabs off of Amazon. I really didn't pay attention enough to realize that I was going to get all of these different sets. But I love that they have them because they're very non-obtrusive, they're very small, they're not very heavy at all as well, and they stick on very, very well. So I did go with this design to match my journal from the first half of the year as well as my journal for the next half of the year. And so these are the ones that I'm using. I just keep them tucked into the back of my journal, and I am loving them so far. I love that I have enough to last me for a while, and I can do multiple colors if I want to. I don't have to stick to a singular color scheme. Okay, with the journal out of the way, we are going to talk about sketching, and I use a Tool mechanical pencil for my sketching. So you can turn that around. I first picked up 2 of these at Office Depot. You can buy them off of Amazon. I have all of the supplies, including these pencils, linked down below. These are the same 2. I have this one and another one. I've been using the exact same ones with refills ever since I started. I just love them. It's a 0.07 refill that I put in here. And to go along with the pencil is my favorite eraser. Now, I have gone through probably 3, 4, 5 different types of erasers before I landed on preferring the Faber-Castell kneaded eraser, which I used to use in high school during art class for like charcoal, and I have come back to it to use it for my sketching. Now, one word of warning: if you are a cat owner, keep them in their little plastic cases and keep them away from your cats. My cats love nothing more than to get on my desk and abscond with my kneaded erasers, and I have to keep buying them because then they're all over the floor and they've got hair and dust and dirt in them. So I do have to keep them tucked away from the Dots and Beyond felines, Eowyn and Fairmer, who love nothing more than to steal a kneaded eraser. Next category up, we are going to talk about pens. And my favorite pens, again, are the pens that I used in high school art class, and that is the Pigma Micron Fineliners. I keep them in this sort of Tolkien looking case that I grabbed at the thrift store. I picked it up at Goodwill, and I love it. And all of my Microns live in this case. So I have added to my collection over the years. I have some brown ones, I have some blue ones. Most of them though are black, and I keep them in this case on my desk so that I have them nearby. Next up is gel pens, and my preferred gel pens of choice are the Uniball Signo. I don't use the silver very often. I use the gold like it is the best pen on the planet, and you can see the ink is almost out of this one, and I think I only have a couple more in my stash, so it's time to order some. I also prefer the white Uniball gel pen, and I'm completely out of white. I went to make this video and realized that I have tossed my last white because I used it all up. And here is the silver. In a lot of retail stores like Target or Walmart, you can pick up the 3-pack of the gold, the white, and the silver. You can also get them on Amazon, or you can get the individual colors on Amazon if you don't, say, prefer one or the other. I don't use the silver a lot, so I tend to buy my gold and my white separately. And then my go-to pen used to be, my daily writing pen actually used to be my Pigma Micron 05. I've changed that, and I have gone to a Uniball Vision needle. It looks like this. this is what the box looks like. Again, I picked these up on Amazon, but I think you can get them at Walmart and Target as well. And it does, depending on the journal you're using, if it's very, very coated, you are going to get a little bit of a smear. If you're left-handed, you're probably going to get a little bit of a smear. I'll be honest about that as well. I am not, and so right now they work for me and they dry quick enough for me that this has become my everyday writing pen in my journal once everything is designed. So we have talked about drawing and sketching and pens. Let's talk about markers and paint pens. The one that's going to mostly come to mind is Tombow. I get my Tombos individually, and so I keep them in this It's Always Tea Time container. I mostly get them at Michael's, or occasionally I have bought some of the packs, like I have the monochrome pack with all of the grays and the black, and I'm just slowly growing my Tombow collection. I have not invested in my Tombow dual brush pens to get the whole set. I just haven't done that yet. Early on in my journaling, before I was able to sort of buy some of the Tombows, I did buy a set of Amazon Basics dual brush pens, and it came with this little case that we could put together and store them this way. And honestly, again, I've had both for multiple years now, and these work just as great as the Tombows do for me, but I also am not a brush letterer, so I think these are actually have a little bit more stiff of a brush tip. If I had to be really picky and choosy between the two, somebody would have to do a side-by-side who does lettering and that sort of thing to see if they preferred one over the other. I just don't letter that much, but for what I use them for, the Amazon Basics dual brush pens work great for me as well, and I do have a full set of those. Next up, of course, are Crayola Super Tips. They look like this. I have mine numbered, these numbered stickers I got off Amazon so that I could swatch my markers that don't have names to them. And I saw this container out thrifting one day, and I said, I bet you that will fit all of my Crayola Super Tips. And I was not wrong. They go perfectly to the top. And so this is where I store my Crayola Super Tips. And that is it for most of the markers. And get these out of the way, but I do use Archer and Olive acrylographs, and I store my Archer and Olive acrylographs in this little wooden box with 2 drawers. This is what the front of it looks like. I will pop a picture of it right up here so that you can see what that little drawer set looks like. And I bought it because I measured it prior to buying, and the acrylographs literally fit perfectly in here. I don't have them sorted by their packs. I have purchased all of my Archer and Olive acrylographs either through a subscription box or individual packets. None of them have been given to me, so I'm slowly building that collection over time as well, but they do fit perfectly in these little storage boxes. I don't like acrylics. I don't like all of my stuff to be seen on my desk, and so these are perfect for me. And again, I'll link them down below if you are also looking for a storage solution for your acrylographs that is not see-through. Okay, let's talk about paint. Now, if you've been around this channel for a little bit, you know that I do use paint, but I'm not necessarily dedicated to any kind of paint. I have very cheap Artist Loft from Michael's paints, bar none, when it comes to both gouache and watercolor. They're just something that I haven't invested in yet. So the only paint that I have are these Clearo watercolors, because I use so much gold that to go over them with the gold from the watercolor really makes them pop. And so this is the only paint that I really consider to be my favorite of the paints. I do have, and again, I don't even recommend brushes because I'm not an artist, so I have some cheap brushes that I use when I do paint in my journal. But otherwise, I do have this, again, Faber-Castell little water, and it pops up it's like a water for the paint cup for the watercolors, and then it squishes back down again if you don't need it to be. I love this thing. I used to use a bowl or a little ceramic dish, and then I found this thing on Amazon and thought, oh, I'm gonna get that, and I'm super glad that I did because I absolutely love this thing. Along with paints, another thing that I use but I don't necessarily use that often is stamps, and so I do have a couple of things to show you. I finally did invest in some alphabet stamps and I really do love these. I'm using them mostly in my reading journal right now, and to go along with them I do use the Distress ink. Mostly in black. I have some of the miniatures of the Distress ink in other colors and I keep trying to work with those, and I don't necessarily love the colored ink. It's just not my vibe when it comes to the stamping. I just prefer the black. So those are really the only two things that I use on a regular basis when it comes to stamping, because stamping is really not that heavily in my forte. I don't have a lot of stamping supplies. I do have some of the acrylics, but just not an overwhelming amount. So that is it for what I use when it comes to stamping. This next set of supplies we are going to dub circles are hard. So this is my Helix circle maker and angle maker. I do use this when I make trackers or anything that fits perfectly on one side of an A4 journal. And of course it's a little small. When it comes to a B5, I kind of had to trace around the outside to get it all the way across a B5, but I love this thing. I use it probably weekly when it comes to my journaling, even if I just grab it and use like a little circle to make a header or a date. I use this a lot. Now, I used to have a singular one of these circle sets from Mr. Pen. It was one of the first things that I bought when I began journaling, but it was neon green. And it was something else that I also picked up at Office Depot, I think. When I first started journaling, I just made a run to Office Depot and bought a couple pens, a couple pencils, a couple stencils to go from there. And so I recently replaced that neon green literally just so I could stop pulling that neon green template into camera. It was just bugging me, so that was just a personal preference. But this set actually came with some larger circles, which I do appreciate. It means that I don't always have to get out the Helix circle maker, although I do use it a lot. It's another option for you if you just want to be able to grab something really quickly and make a circle. And I just knew right off the bat that I like circles, and I knew I was going to use them in my journal, but I can't draw a circle to save my life. So that's why we have things to help us draw circles, because circles are hard. And that brings me to other stencils, and this is an Archer and Olive B5 box that, look, I have a little thing on it upside down there that says Stencils, where I store my stencils. Now, when I started journaling, I could not have predicted that I was going to become a stencil person. I just had no idea. I received a couple of free stencils in the back of the very first journal that I bought, which I purchased off Amazon because it was just a $7 journal to see do I even like the method? Do I even want to do the art? I did the method by itself for 2 or 3 months, then I started adding in artistic elements, and here we are. So these are how I store my stencils. They come from all over the place, and what I've discovered is that more often than not, I will go back and reuse stencils over and over again. So I bought these tropical leaf stencils off Amazon for my setup for 2022, and I have used them in at least 3 setups now, and I'm briefly using one of these in my September setup as well. So these have definitely been useful for me. Along with those, these are just what is called journal stencils. It was a 20-piece set. It has all kinds of shapes and sizes. I used a lot of these in my July setup for Comic-Con to kind of make comic book shapes, and they are numbered. See, this one's number 1. They're not all in here. Some of them I have tucked into the back of other journals because I'm using them right now, and I'd rather them stay there for the time being, because if I get them mixed up with the others, I'll never find the right size that I need again. And then I have bought 2 different sizes, or 2 different sets, of font sets. Again, we talked about it with the brush tip markers. I'm not much of a letterer. Maybe someday I'll decide I want to get into bubble lettering. The aesthetic's really not even my thing with the bubble letters. I like it when other people do it, but I don't necessarily want it in my own journal. And so you can see these are pretty well used. So I turn to letter stencils more often than I ever anticipated that I would. These have just worked their way into my journaling. I've had this set of mandala stencils for quite some time. I purchased them to do a stencil on a bread box for a home project, and then they made their way into my journaling, and I've been using them there ever since. But there is my stencil collection and kind of how I house my stencils in this Archer and Olive box. And like I said, they've kind of become my go-to, which was not expected at all when I started doing my journaling. When it comes to adhesives, I pretty much have only one, and that is the Tombow tape runner. I normally get the pink one. I happened to be at Michael's one time and I needed a refill. They didn't have any of the pink ones. They only had the blue, and the blue is hardcore permanent, so I have to make sure that I don't need to maneuver anything once I get it down on the page. But as soon as this blue runs out, I do have a pink that I can stick back in there. If you ever look at the Tombow tape runners, the pink tape runner, you do have a little bit of time to maneuver things on the page. You can pull them back off. There's sort of a minty green one that I don't remember exactly what it does, and then this blue one is permanent hold. So they do have different levels of tape runners. I only have this one case, so occasionally I'll pop one out and I'll pop a different one in if I feel like I need a different kind of hold, but this is by far my favorite. Next to last, we are going to talk about cutting things. So first up, I have this Fiskars X-Acto knife. This is the one that fits on a finger, and I just did that absolutely backwards. Fits on a finger so that you can precisely cut around things, and I have not regretted this purchase. It has come in very, very handy. This is a We Are Secret Keepers corner rounder, and it has got a 10mm, a 4mm, and a 7mm corner on it. For your standard, say, Archer and Olive journal to match, it is a 10mm corner. So if I do cut Dutch doors or I cut out of the journal and I want a corner to match the rest of the corners in the journal, that's what I am using for that. It also works great for cards, that sort of thing as well. This is a new to me tool, and this is a circle cutter. So occasionally I do a collage style in my journal. It's been quite a while since I did one, but this little gadget allows you to set, and I don't have a blade in here right now. The blades are living underneath here, but you just put in the blade that you need, and from 4 inches up or 10 centimeters and up, you put your blade in, and then you can cut a perfect circle, and it has come in very handy. I know some people do have the punches that cut perfect circles, but I thought I would start with this one that goes up the larger sizes. I've used it enough that I like it, and I'm putting it in a favorites video, so I don't even know if it's even made it into a normal video yet. I don't think it has, but I have used it for other journaling projects that I do that don't necessarily make it onto a camera, so there is that. And then this little mat is from the Dollar Tree, and the only reason I bought this cutting mat is because it is the size of an A5 journal. I was using an A5 at the time, and it is just the perfect size to work on. I have larger cutting mats, but when I'm journaling, this is the one that I reach for. I can't tell you the last time I reached for some of my larger mats when I was doing my journaling. And then this is my Westcott paper cutter. It is nothing fancy. I bought it because it is small. It is only 12 inches long, and normally I am cutting sticker paper that is 8.5 by 11, so it fits perfectly in here. It's got 2 blades on it, and it does what I need it to do because I don't need anything of an industrial size. I just need to be able to cut a straight edge. And speaking of printer paper, so when I do my stickers, I do print them on these full-size shipping labels from Avery, which is the number 15265. I design them either in Canva or sometimes in Photoshop, depending on how detailed I need to get, and then just print them straight onto this shipping label, which is adhesive on the back, just like a sticker. And then a new to me product that I found doing my son's bullet journal, and we'll look at it here in just a minute. I did not know this product existed, and this is going to be so bright on camera. I found holographic printable vinyl sticker paper, which again, I did not know existed. Also 8.5 by 11, so it fit perfectly in my printer. And the printer that I use is an HP Envy 6055 wireless printer. I have an HP ink subscription subscription, so whatever ink comes to me in the mail every couple of months, when it goes, oh, your ink is almost empty, that's the ink I get. I can't even tell you what the numbers are, but it is a decent scanner, printer, black and white or color. But let's look at my son's journal. Let me grab it here real quick. My son's journal is in this gorgeous notebook therapy journal. I knew immediately he was going to get it. I did set up his journal on camera, I believe. But then I did set this up on camera. But then as busy as things have been, I've continued to set up his journal month to month, but we haven't done it on camera. So if you are interested in a flip through of his journal, if you're really interested in a flip through from him in this journal, I bet you I could get him to do it for you, to go over. I always do his fandoms, so he just tells me month to month what he wants on his biggest fandoms, and his tastes are very wide and varied. But June is his birthday month, and he wanted a disco or a roller disco theme. He's very big into roller skating right now. He wanted a roller disco theme. I was pressed for time. I found holographic sticker paper, and so I designed holographic stickers to use, and it is very over the top, in his journal. And since there's nothing personal on it, this is what the cover page looked like if you want to see what holographic sticker paper prints like. And it is a new favorite for us. Again, it's over the top, but I did not know that it existed, so I am just passing on the word. And that is it. That is my favorite list of bullet journaling supplies right now. It's actually pretty small compared to some other people's. Like I said, I don't use a whole lot of paint in my journal, and when I do, it's nothing fancy, nothing special. I have bought some Posca markers, but I haven't even used them yet, so I can't even tell you if they are going to be a favorite. Again, everything is linked down below if you want to pick some of those up for yourself. Some of those links are affiliate links, and I will get a little bit of commission off of those. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.